Hello, good people of the internet. Today we're playing Thrive Heavy Lies the Crown, which is a complex city builder game with various aspects similar to maybe Banished, or like there's some RTS combat in there as well. It's in very, very early access. It calls itself a beta. It even says the words alpha down here. My cursor isn't available. So I had a little bit of a bad experience with this game. Because it called itself a beta, and I was expecting a lot more from it. The game is going to come out in 2024 in early access. You know, that's months away. So take what you see with... I'm going to give it a second go. So take what you see with a big slice of things will hopefully improve. Balancing all like various features, the UI, all needs work. There seems to be a multiplayer mode, which is interesting, very good. I did play it, and then I hit a significant bug that forced me to quit. No, it didn't force me to quit. Yeah, okay, it did. I couldn't save the game. Or it hadn't saved anything either. So there's some story that there is a kingdom, there is this Waelgrim plague-like thing which is coming. Anyway, you're taking over a town, you're taking some survivors. In the final game, I think there will be something to do with wherever you want to start. So there's various starting places. Whether you want to be close to the sea, or whether you want to be close to the mountains, or whether you want to be close to this thing. I don't know what this thing is, but it's in the middle of the map and important. I don't think that matters too much at the moment, because I think if you click on these things, you'll see that pretty much all the resources and all the qualities, so these things, water or whatever this thing, Waelgrim maybe, the kind of plaguey stuff, is all the same. They're all the same things. And in fact, you can see if I try and hover over these things, well, these just say default, like I say, very early access, but these are the kind of things which are like, I want to know what this means, and the game won't tell me. You can't change any colors. I don't care about colors, but sure. You know, in the future, you will be able to change these sorts of things. Things like that have a nice touch. There is also a big story element to the game, and you get to choose if you want to be a nice ruler or a mean ruler, or hopefully not just good or evil, but you know, various decisions which can help you. I don't know, because we didn't really get that far in my previous playthrough. But as this says, work in progress, grain of salt, a lump of salt with whatever it does. So 2 months since the fall of Aldamor, you gather the survivors and set up for a new home. Niasmor is the future, a land free from the terrors of the past. Here you build a new kingdom guided by your faithful advisors, who form your curia. I don't know, council, whatever you want to call them. Very competent, but none can deny their own interests. Everyone has a plan for your reign. In the end, it is you alone who must set the tone. So what are your interests like? So this is kind of the story part. And we would probably go with, do you want wisdom, vigilance, or prosperity? And it being a city builder, I kind of always go with prosperity. So that's where I would go. And annoyingly, it's one of those where I have to hold to click. Anyway, would I like to play the tutorial? Let's say yes, so that things can pop up. You'll notice the UI. This is tutorial thing popping up. There's a day. We've already lost 20 minutes in the first day. And there's time controls, which we'll get to in a second. You start with this caravan, and you have to use the caravan to build a keep. So it even gives you the controls down here. So WASD, you can select units like this. You can rotate, and you can zoom in and out. Excellent. Normal controls. Everyone's happy. You have this, you know, big blue area. That is actually, as you can see, the map that we decided that we wanted to start in this area. So that is down here, which now that you've seen it probably doesn't seem that big. What we would like to have, well, so it tells you, you want to deploy this caravan once you found the perfect spot. So it doesn't tell you what a perfect spot is, but what your objectives are deploy. There are probably stone and trees are a good thing, and a nice little bit of space. So let's bring our caravan over here. And then you realize that this caravan is going very slowly, and you may want to speed it up. And I noticed, well, we'll get back to it later. Okay, so you put it here, and then it says you want to deploy your caravan, and you've deployed it. It's now in this sort of way, and you need to build a keep. So we're going to build our keep, I don't know, out here. And we have 20 people, apparently, who have just appeared out of nowhere, and they're going to do those things. They're going to build this using the materials that we have from here, because we had, well, we could just click OK. I haven't read it this time around. We had, where is it? Probably exactly the right amount of logs and stone in there to deploy one of those. Excellent. We have to wait for this to build. In fact, it takes for long things for things to build, long time for things to build. So you'll probably stick on ×3. And whilst you're waiting, then, oh, well, we'll do this then because we spent some time. Anyway, buildings take a long time to build. Lots of things take a long time to do. You'll probably leave yourself on ×3 for most of the play. Space will pause. What about 1, 2, 3? No, not at the moment anyway. Plus or minus? Nope. So yeah, it's missing shortcuts from that. Maybe there are some shortcuts in the menu. And then it starts telling you about the storage system. So there is a primitive stockpile. And we need to have a road to that. So then you want to go to this building menu down here, and it tells you, hey, there's a primitive stockpile. Where do I want to build it? I don't know. If you want to... there was a way to rotate things. If I get rid of the caravan view... I can't remember. Well, let's just build it here then. Or... Anyway, let's build it here, and we'll just build a road out like that. If you want to build a road, well, as you can see, it's currently complaining that there is no road there. That's what that symbol is. So you need to come in here and build a dirt road along like so. So there's two types of storages. The primitive storage will let you store things like wood, stone, pretty much everything except for food. And then your other type of storage is for food. And this progress, okay, not too slow. It then tells you about areas of influence, so, and then to build a logger camp and a quarry camp, sure. But you can see when we click on this building, the primitive stockpile, it has this white border around it, and that means that this is the distance that it can, this is basically like a warehouse, but not for food. It's just the distance that things can be delivered to it, or it can be delivered to other things that may need those things. This caravan is kind of in the way, so I don't know, I'll just pack it up and move it out of the way. Now that it's not really doing anything. And then, I don't know, darkness comes. And everything's really dark. I don't know if you can turn off the day-night cycle. There are settings. There aren't very many settings. I put it on potato quality because it was making my CPU... It was on ultra by default, and my CPU was running at about, I don't know, 100%. And I just thought, I don't really want it, because it still looked average anyway, because it's early access. There's no gameplay options in there, no control options. The audio options are limited, let's say. So yes, anyway, day-night cycle, it's not as bad, but it can still be a bit annoying. It wants us to build quarry camp, so you can see there's this other border around it as well. In fact, we're going to build it maybe over here, because that has access to all the stones. And I don't know if they need a road for this, probably not. And one will also build a logger camp, but there's a nice chunk of trees here. To manually adjust the areas of influence of a resource camp, simply click on the structure and adjust the slider. Try this now by selecting one of your camps and adjusting the slider within its area. So it has this area of influence. If I say, actually, I wanted to cut these stones out here as well, we can do that. Which is excellent. Although it means people here will be walking further, but maybe that's fine if you only want one of those camps. Then it tells you about food stores, which we'll get to in a sec. I don't know if we need to do this. that works for these camps, but like for this building here, which is much more important about delivering things. In fact, I'm not even sure if this will be able to get to these unless we expand this range. I don't know. Let's see if that works. So we'll see if that actually gets delivered. I suppose it is because we're getting logs. You can't change the range of the primitive stockpile. And this seems a bit small because this is all the area you're going to have to build it. Anyway, it told us that it wanted us to build a food store. And it helpfully tells you where you can build that. We're going to build it right next to our stockpile. Maybe actually we should have built it above, which it also requires a road, which we can do. And again, things seem slow, so chuck it up to 3 times the speed. Because they also have to take all the resources there, 1 by 1. Okay, in this case, 2 by 2. There is a list of jobs that people will have. So we only have 20 people around. Total population is 20. And we have no one down as builders. We have 3 people unemployed. Now there are people as builders, 2 of 2 builders. But you can see this is on 3 times speed, and we've been sat here for a minute already for the resources to get there, and it's going to take a minute to build. If you have this on ×1, I think it's painfully slow. Maybe realistic, but also not, because in terms of actual time of the day, the whole structure is going to be built in like 8 hours, so it's already unrealistic. Why not just make it slightly quicker? It is very beautiful, and like everything is like, you see all these fine details coming through 1 by 1. So I like that aspect. But yes. Anyway, the next part. So you're building up. This is how you have goods delivered. This is how you have food delivered to areas. And then the next thing is for water, which again is in the farmer structures. And I did air quotes there because everyone's going to need water. And there are different types of workers, similar to maybe like an Anno game, where you need to meet certain needs of your population before they will take the next level up, but water will still be required. You also need people to work at the well, so and this jobs list here is an order. So if you really want people to work at the well, you can put them above the food stores, and then it prioritizes somewhat some people there. Summary of your resources is displayed at the top. Yep, you can customize them. So if you're like, actually, I don't care about the number of stone I've got, you can change it. You can say, actually, I want the cider to be there. But I mean, at this point in the game, you probably want the stone. It's a very nice feature. That cider's already there. And then it tells you to construct homes, and it's like build 12 farmer houses, which we can do. And yes, here, now, okay, R is rotate, and T rotates the other way. The well, let's slow time down just because I'm explaining things. The well, again, has an area. So if you want your houses to have that water need met, and trust me, they have a water need, then you want them to be in this blue box. But also they need to be in the green box because that's how they get food, and then they also need to be in the white box because that's how they get goods. And so really, if I want them to have all 3 of those things, it needs to be in this kind of small box bound by this white line and this blue line. Yeah. So, we can just build houses along here like this. Maybe 5 in a row is probably too many. For reasons that we'll get to later. But it wants us to build 12, so we're just going to build them in a nice big block down here. We're going to build a road that isn't 12 just yet, but don't worry, we'll build a few as well. At this point, I mean, they were all red for a second. I think that's because they had no road. And then you'll see that they're slowly providing resources to them. Okay, maybe it's because they had no resources. Nope. And then people are slowly building them. But to build this many houses, we're going to be here for a while, so let's chuck it up to 3 now that they're actually doing things. And we can plop down. Are those in the right place? Yeah, that should be. Just looks a bit strange. Several more. And these ones, I think you'll see the line, the green line is, even though there's overlap, I think the road is going to cause problems. So yeah, there's no road access at the moment, but they're going to not be able to get any food. So I probably shouldn't build these here, but it's a nice demonstration that the area is probably too small. Or not too small, but you're just going to have a lot of repeated things. And here comes the story aspect. So within the game, you are this leader, you get to make decisions about the way you want things to happen. So you get these kind of story things that pop up. Word to the wise, do not have the trade window, and it's we're a long way from discussing trade window, but do not have that open whilst you have the screen, any of the story stuff up, because you will not be, it will have a higher priority. You'll be in terms of visualizing the trade screen, but you'll have higher priority on the story, and you'll be trying to click through that when you can't see any of it. That is what made me quit the game. Well, because I couldn't actually do anything. I couldn't see the options. Anyway, foundations of your settlement have been laid, but much has to be done to encourage its growth. Your courier, a small group of advisors, will help you find your way. Chancellor Declan Booty, Duke Donovan Stanton, for those who remain, and a trusted knight. Sure, whatever. Anyway, so your Chancellor, they have the story here. It's good to read. Obviously, your Chancellor is talking about, rewarding the people's resilience, instilling confidence and joy. Your soldier, army, military leader guy is saying that they should focus on securing things. And then there's this third guy who's the Duke, who's like, actually, we should be having, some money, because even though the Chancellor, which is normally in charge of money, this guy's more focused on money. Don't ask me. I suppose he's part of the upper echelons of society, and so therefore cares about money a bit more than the others. And so they've all kind of said these things and these fair points, and then you have the slightly odd, it'd be nice if I could slow things down, but I can't in this thing. You can kind of choose which one you like the best based on what they said before. And so you're like, well, I want to go with, let's choose coin, because we said prosperity, so let's go with prosperity. So I choose coin, which then you have to click on this. And then you're having the same conversation with the guy. Okay, but it's slightly longer. So he's like, our citizens are indebted to us. To rebuild what was lost, our people should devote their lives and wealth to the cause. Their investment will ensure a prosperous future for all, which is not what I said before. And then the other guy comes in and says, makes their own argument. Anyway, so you continue, and then you're kind of in the same menu again. And you're like, well, fine. Are these options that I should be taking? What happens if I click on this one? What do you think? Because this is the third guy who hasn't spoken yet. And you basically get him, and then he comes in and disagrees, and then he comes in and disagrees, and then if you click continue, you're back at this thing again. And it's, in my eyes, a really bad way to do this UI. And I can only say it is the early access nature of the game, which just needs this UI to be a bit better. It really just needs them to have like the big 3 boxes, and for them to have the arguments all listed down, like, we should do this, blah, 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 blah. We should do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, choose this, or choose this. I don't need to go through this conversation, because if I then choose, I'd like to hear from the Duke. We already actually heard from him. This is the same conversation we've had. So it's just like repeating the conversation, which is annoying. So you have to kind of choose the I agree one. In the end, you get some coins. That is what your decision amounted to. I think if you chose one of the others, you could have got some food maybe, or something about security. Don't know. Anyway, the event is complete. There are more events like this throughout the game, and I think it's actually a good part of the game, because it gives you a way to show off, well, as I say, direct your your ruler in one kind of direction. So you can kind of roleplay that to some degree, or you can kind of min-max things. So here I got some extra coins. Maybe if I had a huge military, you know, that would be something that I need. I'm getting money from my farmers anyway, so I didn't actually need coins this early in the game. But I didn't know that I was going to get coins. Well, I mean, I kind of did because I selected the coins option. Anyway, we should get rid of that jobs menu. That's the story aspect. There are lots more decisions that happen. This beta, I don't know if I really want to call it beta. This alpha, let's call it, because it says alpha down here. And it's definitely not just the final touches and balancing issues with the game, which a beta would be. It doesn't let you get past Act 1, I don't think. So there's various events and whatever, but it doesn't. I don't know what comes after that. Anyway, it wants you to explore the houses, so click on house. It shows you that there's health, so if the building's ever on fire, then it can... tells you here. Health drops if the building is damaged by fire, attacks or revolts. When health drops below maximum, the structure requires repairs, which cost resources. And there is resident happiness as well, which is the second bar. And when everyone is really, really happy, then what happens? They're happy. I think you get more people who live here. So at the moment, it's locked to like one person in this house. It looks like there's one person. Oh no, two people. And if you meet the other needs, then you can have a third person live here and then a fourth person. But at the moment, there's only like one person. But as well as that, so even though I have space, because I've built these, you know, huge number of houses, they're only going to want to come here if the happiness is high, and happiness is based on the average of all the houses in your district. So yes, this is what it's saying. Residence needs are met or expected. More residents can move in. Maximum of 4 for the farmer's house. Here are the events. So the fact that the tax rate is low means they're happy, or the fact that there's no buildings nearby which are broken or rubbled is also making them happy. And the fact that everything's clean as well. Things like fire attacks and disease can decrease it and mean that people are going to be less happy, as you might expect. And then there are these needs. So at the moment, we're meeting default need and default need and default need. Okay, it's clearly not what it is, but there is... What are these symbols? Oh, is that the store? So they have access to a store and the food store and a well. So what they want next is firewood. So that has a tooltip, but this doesn't. And then after that, it'll tell you what they need, although that is the grayed out image of an apple. But that requires 25 farmers to unlock that. In general, we only have 20. That counts as a lot. Oh no, there's also lotteries which require 50 farmers. And then at that point, if you start doing those things, they become even happier. So I don't know what the... does needs, if you meet all the needs, maybe they're 100% happy, like 90, and you'll unlock all these slots. But if you meet the luxuries, then they become 100%. I don't know. Anyway, so you fulfill the needs to make them happier, and then this icon will be slightly different, but depending on how happy they are. And yes, they can also be sick. There's some kind of sickness in the game, plague of what kind, or the Waelgrim, I don't know. But people can be very unhappy because of that. If people are very unhappy, they start to revolt and they'll come out to your keep and do protests and stuff, and then people will be even less happy or something. I don't know. You have to make them happy to make them do stuff again. Anyway, so then it tells you to build the next thing in the game, which is a wood chopper. And does it? You know, it needs access to this thing, this what is that? The primitive store. So we could put it here, I guess. Or we could put it up here. I don't know, right next to it. Sure. This line, the kind of yellowy line, was the place where the road needs to be. So you can only have access to the road on this side. Anyway, we've been on ×3 speed. And then when I watched a couple of other videos on this, just to confirm that I, wasn't the only one having a bad time. I think I was the only video that I still having a bad time, and that's because I didn't actually look at a huge amount, but still. pretty much everyone was playing it on 3 times speed. This bar is making progress. This is the Waelgrim. I don't know when it progresses. Is it just when I click things and build things, or? But yes, maybe that's related to the time. Maybe that goes up a small amount each day. Doesn't seem to. I don't know. I haven't paid enough attention to it. Actually, the one nice thing about the day-night cycle is there is this light attached to you. So if you're ever looking at something, you can just see it in a bit of a brighter light. Bit of a nice touch. Just because I hate it when you're in a game and it's like really dark in night mode and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, you can manage jobs. We've shown you that before. You go to this pane, but it wants me to do it for the tutorial. And because we have a wood chopper and there's no one able to work there, it's because this is too low priority. So we need this to be much higher. Each class of worker is represented in their own tab. Yes, okay. So you can change it differently. And in the different provinces if you have different towns, but that's, you know, we're still in the very early stages of the first town, so why would we do any of that? With our worker issue solved, produce 30 firewood at your wood chopper to ensure that every home is adequately heated. Anyway, so this guy is chopping away, he's done it. And then it's like, well, also build apples. You can see that we're on just crept up to 26 population, so that should have unlocked the apples. So that is now another need. They're currently at 85 happiness. And that's going up the population because the happiness is above 75, so, you know, I guess it's going to fill up to, well, I don't know, various number of houses. Some of them don't have firewood just yet, but some of them, in fact, all of these do have access to the well. Yeah, okay, they all have access to the well, but they don't all have... I think these ones at the bottom won't be able to get apples. So that's something to test. But it wants us to build an orchard, which is not in farmer structures, even though it wants you to build what is obviously a farm building. So yes, you want to build an apple orchard. We can do that. I think it needs to be in the, yeah, the fact that it brings up, no, it's just because I have that selected. Okay, but when you select apple orchard, it highlights the green area of the food store, so it needs to be within that area, or at least some of it. So if I build it like this, you can choose the area. Okay, this is too small and this is too big, but you can choose, maybe I'm going to make it perfectly fit in that area. Well, no, it should be bigger. So if I build it slightly bigger, is it going to complain? Don't know. Hopefully the fact that some of it is inside means that it will be able to go to the food store. And then you could maybe play with that and have a tiny bit of a farm that goes out to it, or, you know, the bit of the road that connects is maybe enough. Anyway, it takes forever for them to produce apples. Slower than building a building. I suppose they are. Growing trees does take a long time. But let's just wait for that to happen. I'd speed things up, but I already have. You know, put this on the lower speed. Anyway. So they have now grown the trees, but it just says producing apples. But they've grown the trees, so now the animation is different, but they're slowly collecting apples, and all these people are going to take all this time. I don't know how long it actually takes to produce these 25 apples, which your population, being 40 people, will munch through in like 5 minutes. Anyway, we have another story. As the community grows, so too grows the need for management of the coin. Treasurer did not survive the kingdom's fall, and finding replacement was below priority until order was re-established. The courier joins you to discuss the matter. Anyway, same sort of story. Does he want compassion? And the Duke wants What does he want? Trade will fatten our purse soon enough. Fine. It's like, question of a new treasure remains, and all three of you gentlemen have proposed solutions. Except in this conversation, they haven't. We only had conversations from ideas from two of them. Anyway. So, the Chancellor has a citizen in mind. The Duke is experienced with coin and thinks he's a candidate. And Sir Hayward says you would trust it to an outsider, which I think is an odd thing to suggest, but sure. A citizen or someone experienced, like you go with the experienced person, right? I mean, but then he goes on about traditions, and I don't really... It's not about traditions and nobility, it's just you have experience, so that's different. You have the understanding required, most assuredly. Right, whatever. And... I believe someone else more qualified. So yeah, you have to choose a different option. You can go with this person, or you can choose someone else, and he's like a young man who I believe could excel, well-educated, remarkable, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, let's go with this guy then. So, trust your judgment. Sure. Chancellor will oversee the youth's training and shift into the role of treasurer. If he succeeds at this, it may prove the working class trustworthy of the kingdom's wealth entirely. Should he fail, the weight of such disappointment will heavily fall upon Chancellor Declan. So I've chosen someone. That will transfer somewhere to something happening. Is it the happiness? Don't know. Anyway, you'll see that we have 2 apples. Even though this apple orchard has been producing 25 apples. If I go look at these houses, the needs are met on this front row. At pretty much most places. It says the need is met, but we only we have 2 apples. No, we have 0 apples. Okay, on this back row, as I expected, they don't have access to the food because even though they're in the area, the road is outside. Which is kind of annoying. So if I want them to level up or do anything or be happy, I would have to build another one of these about, well, here, if I wanted to kind of have that tiling. And you're just going to end up with loads of these sorts of tiles all around the place, maybe. Maybe I shouldn't have built these buildings here, and I could have built them, you know, down here or whatever. Maybe this is too many people anyway, because if I just built 12, which would have been so 5, 10, like these 2 and not built these other ones, then maybe I wouldn't have this weird like apple situations where we're on like 4 apples and just barely feeding the people. Anyway, now wants me to build a hemp farm, which is not a food, and so I can build it on this little corner here and hope the same thing applies. Can we make it the same size? Yes. Although it doesn't tell you the exact number of squares, so it's like, is this better than this? Like, is that bigger? I don't know. But in terms of multiplication, like, I couldn't go out either way, but I could have it in a shorter, fatter square. Anyway, so we've constructed one of these farms, and it's doing that thing. And the game kind of goes on like this for a while. In terms of its introduction, there are more story events, there are more buildings. It will want you to fulfill these needs. And it's all kind of fun, this progression. I like building more things to get more things. It's a nice kind of easy way into it. It will introduce you at some point as well to like these other buildings. So the laborer's house, which requires 60 farmers to unlock in the first place. So we only have 40, so that's why we haven't unlocked it. But yes, now we have hemp. We can now build some of these other buildings. Certain buildings require more than one resource to produce their goods. For example, the fermenter uses apples, water, and firewood in order to produce cider. But it wants us to build an outfitter, which isn't a farming building. It's a building that farmers require. I don't know. I think these are a bit... I guess it's okay. It makes some kind of sense. If we were to build this out here, it wouldn't have access. So, I don't know, let's build it over here. It's not exactly the... they're not all the same size, these buildings. It will auto get rid of the trees, which I don't know if is a good thing if you need the trees. These people are just walking off into the distance for some reason. Stone, maybe? Have they got rid of all the stone? I don't know, there's some stone right next to it. Or they're logging. Who knows? So yes, the Waelgrim. The bar filled up, and so it tells you, hey, the bar filled up. Well, this is the tutorial, which means that a surge is happening, an unpredictable outcome that will occur in one of your occupied provinces. After this, the meter will empty, then slowly expand again alongside your rain. Once you mined the meter... Sorry, one must mine the meter and prepare for all manner of things. Illness, violence, and even boons can arise from a Waelgrim surge. It doesn't say how it expands or grows, but sure. Anyway, so something happened. It doesn't tell you what, but then you may see that there are these crystals that have appeared. What do these do? I don't know. It doesn't tell you. There are story things that will tell you a bit more about it, but I didn't get too far. Anyway, click on the outfitter and it'll tell you it requires logs, hemp, and stone. Oh no, this is to build. So still building. As I was mentioning before, the actual graphics of it, like the detail on like it being built one by one is quite nice. Maybe not 100% correct, because you probably wouldn't be putting these crates down before you build this thing, or, you know, who's putting stuff on this table before you've actually built the cover for it? I don't know. Some slightly strange things as well, like this guy, Eric Conan. I don't know what he wants to do. He's unemployed, clearly for a reason. This is at max. Max what? Oh, storage. So it probably doesn't need the 2 people because we have stored as much as we can here. Maybe, yeah, as much as we can here. So we could, in the jobs, say the... where is it? Wood chopper is lower priority than some of these other things. But then you'd think, why doesn't it do it automatically? But yeah, I guess it does. Storage is full. But also, isn't the storage full for this? I don't know. And yeah, as I was saying, it kind of goes on like this for a bit. It kind of introduces you to new buildings. And now it's like, hey, go build a fermenter, and you can do that if you want. When you get to a certain size, then you can build the labor structures, which are bigger and better, and there are more events and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, if you would like to play this game, my recommendation is that you don't play this game as it is at the moment. In fact, by the time this video goes out, the playtest, as they call it, the beta, as they call it, the alpha, as it should be called, and as they actually call it down here, you probably won't be able to play it because it was a limited type thing. But I think there is a lot of potential for this game. And I would, if this is the sort of kind of hard resource-focused city builder, like a Banished, it has combat, which we haven't even touched on in this video. You know, if that's sort of your something that really, you know, interests you, then go for it. Play it in early access. I really look forward to it in early access because I want to see if they've made strides with the UI, with the balance, with all the things. Yes, so I'm looking forward to the future, but I need to see improvements before I get more excited about it. anyway, take a look if it interests you. Take a look when it comes out in early access. Maybe we'll take another look on this channel if there are improvements seen. I want to thank you for watching. If this is a video that you've liked, then please leave a like on the video. If you want to see more like this, there's plenty more like this on the channel, so subscribe and you'll be notified when there is more. And yeah, ultimately, I want to hope you have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Thanks.